the saying is, the Miata is always the answer, right? But I disagree with that. I think the S2000 is always the answer. Here we are, and welcome back to Born Again Motoring. Just finished my workout. Day is off to a good start. It's the start of the year. It's January 1st, so a new year. The gym is going to start to get really busy. Being an avid gym goer, I used to dread this time because right after this point the gym just gets packed and you gotta wait forever for equipment. But these days, you know, I've kind of realized it's probably a little bit arrogant for me to get upset about that. The fact that people want to do good is a good thing, or they want to better themselves, and you know, physically is a really good thing. So whether or not they stick with it, that's up to them, but as long as they're trying, it's good not to beat people up and really, I would say, lift up their spirits rather than kind of take them down. But I digress. That's not what this is about. Today I want to talk about what it's like to own an S2000 as opposed to an ND2 Miata or an MX-5, because I did own one of those. Interestingly enough, it was my daily when I had my Corvette for some time. And so having owned one of those and then owning this, I kind of want to talk about really the comparison between the two, and the good and the bad between the Roadster, the coveted Roadster, and the coveted S2000. Sadly enough, the reason why I don't have the ND2 Miata is about 4 months after I moved to Texas. I was driving to work, and I was in stop traffic, or dead stop traffic, on the freeway, and some girl came flying down the tollway and hit two cars behind me. Kind of created a domino effect, and the Ford Fusion that was behind me flew into me like a missile and sent my ND2 MX-5 flying, because the car weighs a little over 2,300 pounds. And so yeah, I went flying and it totaled it. I hit the Honda Accord in front of me, and I sent that Honda Accord flying into the Honda Civic in front of it. But needless to say, the car was totaled, and it was a sad day for me because I really enjoyed that car. So I owned it for about a year. It was coming up on a year, actually. I was like a few days short of hitting the 1-year anniversary. And I bought that car because I had always liked S2000s, and I had always liked MX-5s. So I said, hey, you know what? I want a daily. I don't want to drive my Corvette every day, and I want something I can have fun in while being a daily. I mean, there was a bunch of other opportunities. I still had the Porsche Macan too. So yeah, me and my silly ways bought another sports car as the daily. And it was great. It was really a good car. I mean, first thing I noticed right away, especially after driving the Z06, was the thing was paper light. Just in switching through lanes, you just felt like the thing was a feather. And that was the closest thing that I think that I've ever driven to a Japanese K car. And I can't imagine how those things feel to drive. Besides, you know, a go-kart, because I've driven plenty of karting, or done plenty of karts in my karting days. But the thing was just incredibly light. Like, I felt like you know, I could push that thing uphill without effort. That's how light it was. And the ND2 particularly had a 7,800 RPM red line. So that was what really enticed me, because always wanting an S2000, I picked up the ND2 thinking, this is close. This is you know, a modern day S2000, right? The fact of the matter is it's not. I was wrong, but that's not to say that it wasn't fun and it wasn't great. Look at that Austin. That's a DB. I don't know. I can't tell. But it was it's not the same thing. Even with that high red line, or 7,800 RPM red line. I had a Grand Touring with the sports package, so I had the Bilstein suspension. And the one thing I will say is, even with that Bilstein suspension, that car had a lot of body roll. And as I understand from Mazda, that's intentional. They want to keep that spirit of the original MX-5. It's not that it had bad handling at all, and you can account for that body roll. It just creates a certain lack of confidence, and the weight transfers really easily under you. It's just not, it's not the style of a driving experience I prefer. And I was thinking when I got the one with the Bilstein suspension, that from the factory it would be much different, but I was wrong. It wasn't. Now, there were, again, some great pros to having that car, to having that platform. One of them is that engine, with the car weighing over 2,300 pounds, that engine created decent amount of power. I think it had 181 horsepower. It really moved. It felt like there was torque all across the rev range. It's completely different than this S2000. Below, you know, 5 or 6 really, in this AP1, your power, it's dead. I find that to be a fun and interesting character trait about this car that I really enjoy. But it's true. I mean, going around town and through traffic, this thing is dead. It's gutless. But that ND2 made usable torque all around. The interior was super nice for what it was. It was really small. It was really cramped. I'm 6 foot tall, and I fit in it barely. But it was nice with the screen. Although the OS on the screen was a little laggy, I'm not a fan of that operating system. This car got impatient. It looks like this light is broken. We'll give it a moment before I make a U-turn myself. Oh, there it goes. But the interior was great. The biggest downside for me was that the operating system, it was really laggy and slow, even for a 2020 ND2. The fit and finish of the interior, the leather, no complaints there. The panels felt solid. I really liked, I didn't have the RF, I had a soft top. I purposely chose the soft top because I wanted a lighter one. And what I liked was that the soft top was manual, and you could get it up and down with like in 2 seconds. Like, it was that easy. You take your hand, you go like this, you take your hand and go like that, and like lock it in place. It was so simple. Much different than this car. I don't like that this has a power operated roof, because those motors go out and the repairs are expensive. Replacing the roof itself is expensive, and it eventually has to be done because of the shortcomings. But the MX-5, it's manual, it's easier to replace, you can manage it yourself. Now, back on the topic of the engine, in the ND2 with the updated red line, while it did rev higher, I didn't like the engine sound. It doesn't sound like this. This F20 motor is really special to me, but that MX-5 just lacked, I'm gonna say it like I said in my last video, it lacked spirit. It revs out, but it just wasn't all there. Would I trade that torque for more sound and a higher RPM? Yeah, I mean, I did. I could have bought another MX-5 instead of this car. It was roughly the same price. So I chose the S2000. To me, this car is, hold on, well, let me get my thought back. I like this road here. Let's get on it. This car, let's call it 23 years after the first one came out, it still holds its ground as the roadster to get. The two-seat sports car, manual transmission. MX-5 and all its newness and all its greatness still is not what this has really established. It can't compete. And even stock for stock, if you put these two on a racetrack or on a mountain pass, this is going to beat the MX-5. Now, the transmission in the MX-5 was great. I know that early on there was some challenges with it, but I think they corrected those, at least in the 2020 model year, and mine was just fine. It shifts very smoothly. It's very nice, but this is still better. This 31,000 mile S2000 is better and performs better. In my opinion, of course. Let's go. So, if Mazda had stiffened up that body roll in the MX-5 and given the engine a better note, and maybe raised the red line to 8,000, we might be having a different conversation here. It's interesting with the MX-5. I feel like it could always be the car, one of my favorite cars of all time, but there's just something about it that's missing, or it's just something that they don't do to it. And maybe that's to make it more attainable, because the average buyer of the MX-5 is not me. Let's just say that the average buyer of the MX-5, I mean, I think it varies, but there's a lot of, let's say, distinguished individuals that are buying the MX-5. And so it's not me. So I get the stance, Mazda, but could you just give it that little bit extra, release some addition, which you do sometimes, like the Mazda Speed MX-5, I get it. But for this generation, if there's a sport model, if you make the sport model just a little bit more, you do a little bit more to it, it would just make it a modern day S2000, because nothing exists that's like the S2000. Not the GR86, nothing. The MX-5 is the next closest thing. And even when the NC Miata was out, if they would have put the unreliable, as some will call it, RX-8 motor in it, that would have made that car incredible. I couldn't imagine how that NC Miata would have done with a 9,000 RPM Renesas rotary engine motor with a stiffened suspension. I mean, that thing would have been a dream. Yeah, the NC Miata looks weird. It would have looked like a baby RX-8, but just the amount of fun you could have had in that car would have been insane. So this kind of bleeds into why I chose the AP1 again over the AP2. The ND2 Miata is almost like an AP2. It's not as stiff, but the red line is almost similar. It has a little bit more torque. It's going to be more reliable. It has all the features. It has better tech. But that's not what driving for me is about. Driving for me is about the fun and the engagement. I like things that require more skill. The reason why, when I was buying my Corvette Z06, I considered buying an R35 GTR, but I didn't want a car that drove itself. I wanted a manual transmission and then even rear-wheel drive. I was looking for something with high power. I wanted something a little bit more up there in the class range, and it came down between those two for me, an R35 or a Z06. And I got the Z06 because I wanted to drive the car. I didn't want the car to drive itself. And these all-wheel drive systems, the Atessa system, double clutch, I'm sorry, double clutch, granny shifting, not double clutching like you should, dual clutch transmissions and automatics, I wasn't there yet. And so, having owned an ND2, I wanted an AP1 because of its rawness. The saying is, the Miata is always the answer, right? But I disagree with that. I think the S2000 is always the answer. I just think that answer is harder to find. And what do I mean by that is, it's harder to attain an S2000. They're more rare, they're gonna become more rare. It's hard to find one in a good condition. And as time goes on, they're gonna be even harder. And parts are expensive on these things now. Like, if you want anything, the parts are gonna cost you to make it, to keep it in a prime condition, or to restore anything, as I'm finding out, right? These seats that are used were $1,700. It's not something I'm proud of. It's something that I wanted, and I did it. I get it, but my point is these things aren't cheap. With the MX-5 or Miata, any generation, you're gonna have an easier time because the abundance of the cars that were made. And while they are great cars and they're great entry-level machines for people, I think this has a higher ceiling, especially from a driver learning potential. Okay. So that's my rant on owning an ND2 versus an S2000. Would I choose an MX-5 and ND2 in any flavor over this car? No. I've had one. I drove it for a year. To me, this is the superior car. But they're both wonderful machines. I'm not pooping all over the ND2. Hope you found this informative. God bless you all. Take care. I'm out.